Hello there, my name is Simon Chege, aka Simon Lines, aka Mwalimu, and welcome to a continuation of my masterclass on frequency separation. At this particular point, I think it is good for us to understand the theory of frequency separation because from a lot of courses that I've consumed about frequency separation, many of these courses go right direct into separating and mixing and cloning without setting a foundation on which is going to that is going to make it better and easier for me to understand what is happening in the next stages of the editing process. So I thought, let me take a moment to share the theory of frequency separation to help you guys understand what separation frequency separation is, how it works, and why it is necessary for you to separate before editing your images. So without further ado, let's do this. So actually, it is possible for you to do your editing in Photoshop and clean up your skin and remove your spots and your blemishes without doing your frequency separation. But the danger is you're going to be solving two problems with one tool, and therefore that tool cannot solve both problems adequately. And what are these two problems? Think, for example, you took a photo of me and I have an acne spot here that is healing. Okay, so this acne spot, when I had the pimple, most likely I burst it like we always do. And in the process of healing, two things happened. That pimple developed into a small scar that I can physically feel by touching, and also the skin around where that particular scar is going to be a bit different in color from the rest of the areas because of the discoloration that happens when skin is healing. So that means that after I'm done healing and you take a photo of me and you want to go and fix that particular spot in Photoshop, you need to fix both the color part of it and the texture part of it. So the danger in just opening your images and going to things like healing brush tool, spot healing, or even patch tool, or any healing brush in Photoshop without doing a separation is you're going to be fixing two problems using one solution, and it cannot work effectively. Okay. So the reason we separate is we want to separate our problem into two different parts, then use a different tool for each of the different parts of our separation. Okay, so you take my face, but instead of you using maybe the spot healing brush tool on the spot, and maybe because the danger in using such tools is you're going to be fixing one problem and introducing the other. As the spot healing brush tool is getting the color right, you might get the texture wrong, and vice versa. Okay, so what you need to do is take your image and divide it into two layers. These two new layers are going to be called frequencies. And where are they called frequencies? If you go back to high school, if you did physics, frequency is the rate of change over time, okay, or over space. So that means that both the color and the texture across the human body are changing. Relatively, we have one skin tone, but it is not one shade of color. Okay, some part is going to be a bit darker, a bit brighter. Maybe the parts that are exposed to the sun are going to be a bit darker. The parts that are always covered are going to be a bit brighter, and things like that. That means that um, your skin color is changing, but not at a high rate like your skin texture is changing. Because if you look at your face, just look at your hand, look at the skin texture that you have on the fingers, on the knuckles, at the back of the hand. It really keeps changing a lot. Even if you look at your face, if you the skin texture here is going to be different from what is here, from what is here, from what is here, from what is here. So if you look at the rate at which the skin texture is changing, it is very, very high. If you take a square inch of skin, you're going to find maybe several number kinds of skin textures. But if you take the same square inch of skin, you are going to find just one skin tone or maybe a small shift from it. That is why the color layer, which is not changing as much, is known as the low frequency layer in frequency separation. Then the texture layer, which is changing so much, is known as the high frequency layer. Makes sense? So we take our image, which is a combination of the texture and the color. Then we divide our image into the texture and the color. And we said the color is not changing as much across the body. Therefore, the frequency of the color changing is not as high as the frequency of texture changing. And for that reason, the color becomes the low frequency layer because it is not changing as much, and the texture becomes the high frequency layer. So once we do this separation, you can now take a tool that is going to work nice for the low frequency layer, like maybe the mixer brush. Then you can take a different tool that's going to work nice for the high frequency layer, maybe the cloth stamp tool. Then we can use each of these tools to fix their respective layers. Then once we are done, we combine back our frequencies and we get back the original image, but without the blemishes we are trying to fix. That is how frequency separation works. So let me just go over it one last time. We take our image. It's going to be a combination of two things. You're going to have the sharpness part of it, the texture, and the color part of it. Okay, then we divide our image into two parts. We separate the color from the texture. Then we use a different tool to fix the problems in the color. Then you use a different tool to fix the problems in the texture. So once both of them are fixed nicely, we are going to combine them and save our image, and you're going to get our image like it was originally, but now with blemishes and decolorations and bumpiness fixed and gone. You're going to have a nice and smooth image that is smooth in the color and even in the texture. That is the theory of frequency separation. We simply take an image, divide it into two frequencies, then fix the frequencies, then combine the frequencies again, and we get our image looking nice, natural, but polished and smooth. So I think that is going to be setting a nice enough foundation for the next part of the course, because from here we are going to get into loading our image on Photoshop and separating and cloning and mixing. So without further ado, see you guys in the next one. And for the next video, please run your Photoshop, load your image. We are going to get into the gist of it. So stick around.